aligned movement, the 19th summit here, because the ministers are done with their meeting. The adoption of the agenda was done. The deliberations were done. By the time we got to the mid-morning, it was done. That's when we had an interview with Ambassador Ayebare there. And as we speak, the outcomes there are waiting for the heads of state, which heads of state will be here tomorrow to be able to discuss and adopt the agenda. The appointment of the president will happen tomorrow, but I'll give you that brief in a short while there. We have started the G77 summit plus China, leaving no one behind. As I speak right now, it's in the Victoria Ballroom. We're here in the Renzori Convention Center, where it's empty, but arrangements are being made for the heads of state to come through tomorrow. We left there Cuba, which was the second to host the G77 summit, the second G77 summit, which happened in Cuba, in Havana there. And we left the election happening there. The election was the permanent secretary from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that had been elected as the chair of the senior officials meeting that is happening right now. It's behind closed doors because they have adopted the agenda. They're deliberating on the agenda. They're having plenary, and we're having stakes being put together by the member states of the G77, and they're discussing everything they desire to be able to be adopted in that agenda. After it is adopted, the G77 there, they will move on to be able to have the ministers and the heads of state get to the agenda, and we'll have a declaration come Monday or Saturday as soon as the heads of state are engaged in it. But I want to inform you of what will be happening tomorrow, because it will be the 5th session happening, and this will involve all the heads of states. You have seen different heads of states arriving into the country, especially the last that we gave you there was from Qatar. And how does Friday look like tomorrow? The heads of state will be here, and they'll be arriving in the hours of between 8:30 and 9 in the morning there, and they'll have a holding room in the ballroom there, and there they'll be received by the president and the different dignitaries there. They will have the opening ceremony that will happen in this very room, and in that opening ceremony we'll have an address from the president of Azerbaijan, who will in turn give different memos and different adoptions there. The election of the president will be taking place right here for him to become the chairman of the non-aligned movement. When we're done with that election, we'll have different inaugural speeches that will come on. The president who will speak, we'll also see the presidents from Azerbaijan. The chairperson of the G77 plus China will also speak. That's the president of Cuba. He will be here to speak and address us. We'll also have the United Nations representative who will be here, or the Secretary General himself, to be able to represent and speak then. We'll also have representatives from the different regions. The regions are Africa, Asia Pacific, Latin America and the Caribbean, and Europe there, who will be also addressing later on in the afternoon of tomorrow. They'll come back to adopt the agenda, have a brief plenary session, and then the outcomes will become the Kampala Declaration, which will be adopted by the member states, and then the states will have to take on this in the different segments there. We will be back here on Saturday, especially for the G77 plus China, leaving no one behind. And the deliberations from what the senior officials are discussing will be brought here. Plenary will happen, and we'll have a bit of the session where the media is allowed in. Later on, we'll have a closed session where the deliberations will be without the media. But by Sunday to Monday, we'll be adopting the agendas, but also it will be giving the presidency, the president of Uganda, to be able to take on as the chairman of the NAM, but also as the chairman of the G77 plus China for 1 year. These adoptions have to be implemented by Uganda. What does that mean for us? Do we get a secretariat? Do we get administration here? All those are things we'll be waiting for. But let me call my colleague here so that we'll be able to deliberate on some of these things that will be happening. Specifically, the G77 that has just kicked off this afternoon. I also want to inform you that plenary by the ministers ended quite early. That means they adopted the agenda early. They went ahead of schedule and ensured that they have everything happening. Amon is here with me. Amon, your experience both with NAM and G77 were both inside there. What do you think about them, especially the deliberations, the outcomes there? What are your thoughts on them?
It is a very interesting conversation, and for the first time, Uganda, East Africa in general, we have made history to host these significant summits back to back. It has never been anywhere in the world, in the history of the world, in the history of Africa, and also in East Africa. So we can, I can say congratulations to the people of Africa. I can say congratulations to the people of East Africa. It has not been about Uganda. We have hosted it as East Africa and the East African people. That's why we have been having sideline events and forums, and most of the East African countries were represented here. So it is a very significant events that we benefited as the region. Now, from the former chairman, both for a special senior officials meeting that handed over to His Excellency Adonia. You see how he has been taking us through very smoothly. And then yesterday when we had General Jeje Odong also taking up the ministerial meeting chairmanship, and we've been really doing good. And now tomorrow we're going to have the president sweeping the seat of the chairmanship for the 3 years from 2024 up to 2025. A lot is expected on the side of Uganda. But if I can cross to G77, as you rightly put it, 59 years down the road, from 77 countries now to 135. But they kept the name G77 to mean the founding 77 countries, and plus China. But many people are asking themselves, how does China come in? Plus China. China does not consider itself a member of the G77. But why it is there, it is because it has been providing political and economic assistance to the G77 member states. So that's why we have plus China. So it is a partner.
What do you mean by political and economic support? What does that mean? And are you trying to say the South Summit countries could not really blockade themselves to have that trade happening?
From 1964, most of these, they call them developing countries. In developing countries, you know that they don't have that financial muscle. So they wanted that platform where they can negotiate jointly. So it is a coalition of countries that are developing in nature, and they wanted a platform or voice out on political and economic affairs in terms of negotiation. Like, for example, if you cannot take up a deal, business deal, you as an individual, you will need a company, a group of companies, that when you collectively come together and be able to correct the resources, perhaps you may end up taking a deal that you could not have afforded as an individual. So these are developing countries that came together to have that economic corrective force to do business, but also to negotiate.
And the theme is leaving no one behind, but let's look at it. Let's get to the agenda. Most of this is the south end of the globe and not the north end. When you look at it, what do you think needs to be on top of that agenda of their discussion, even as they're behind these closed doors? What needs to happen looking at the preceding issues or the global challenges that are happening right now?
Climate change first. Climate change does not affect those countries in the west or east, global south or global north. We need to all come together, global citizens, and fight or do everything that is needed to make sure that we attend to climate change, because it does not affect the developed only. So we leave no one behind, whether you're developed or developing. 2, the debt burden, especially in African countries. These are countries that are suffocating. They have high burden in terms of debts, and they can negotiate together, especially in IMF and World Bank. Because they have failed, I cannot say that they have failed, but because of that kind of gap, maybe they can use this kind of voice to make sure that they attend to that.
So you've given me 2. You've given me debt. You've given me also climate change. Would global financing be something that would be interesting to discuss, especially with all of them there? We look at India inside there. We look at plus China there. I've also seen a bit of Russia going to be represented in the G77. Your thoughts on these 3 that are part of BRICS that seem to be also being economically empowering to the Southern Summit there?
They are big already, as you said. And the choices they make, they also affect those that are still developing. So they show the way. And the way they show us is the way that we, the developing countries, can take.
So when you talk about debt, what do you want them to do about debt? What do you want the global north to do about this global south's debt?
Reduction in interest, or even pardoning some countries that have failed in one way or the other to pay their debts.
As Africa, you have a very high appetite for loans. Why don't you first nip the appetite before you start talking about nipping the debt?
We still have a lot that we can meet as countries. Development is not about government, but we need different pillars to come together. And we cannot facilitate or finance some of our programs because, as you said from the name, we are still developing. You cannot expect a child to meet their interests and demands. They're still children. That's why sometimes they need assistance from their parents or some guardians or some sponsors. You have had some people sponsoring children to attend school. We are not at the same page. You are not at the same pace. So we need also those that have elevated to the developed to help those which are still developing.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. And we'll be getting back to everything happening here. So the G77 will be concluding come later on Sunday and Monday there. The biggest thing is that right now as we speak, the senior officials are having plenary inside there. It's a closed door session right now, and they're discussing and adopting the agenda. Some of the things that Amon has spoken about, climate change, debt, global financing, especially for the global south. Can that happen in this era? What does it look like? And shall we be able to have different currencies or alternative currencies being done about there? But we'll be knowing about some of these things as soon as the outcomes from this second segment of the summit goes on there. The ministers meeting will come in, the heads of state will come in, and those are the 135 that are part of G77 that will be staying behind. The rest of the members that are part of NAM will be leaving towards the end of Saturday or in the wee hours of Sunday morning, and then the G77 will be able to conclude later on in the week, and then the chairmanship will be handed over to our president on Monday, and for both NAM and the G77. Some of the dire needs, we'll be listening to them and we'll be bringing them to you live here from Munyonyo at the Renzori Convention Center for you to be able to hear some of the things. I'll be here. I'll be bringing you every update that is needed there. My name is Timothy Nyangweso. I hand you over back to Rhoda at the broadcasting house there.
Very much, Timothy. That's at a Speak Resort Munyonyo, where the G77 third South Summit of senior officials opened this afternoon. It was opened by the Permanent Secretary of the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Let's take a look at that, which took place earlier today. I am Rhoda Ngozi. Do stick around on UBC TV.
17 SDGs is lagging.
UBC TV unakaribishwa tena leo ikiwa ni tarehe 18 mwezi Januari mwaka 2024. Uganda inaendelea kuwapokea wakuu wa nchi mbalimbali wanachama wa muungano wa NAM, ambapo mkutano wa NAM bado unaendelea mjini Kampala katika Speak Resort Munyonyo, na muda wote kutoka sasa tunatarajia kumpokea rais wa Zimbabwe ambaye ni Rais Mnangagwa. Muda wote kutoka sasa atakuwa akitua katika uwanja wa ndege wa Entebbe, huku akisubiriwa na maafisa mbalimbali wa serikalini ambao wapo uwanjani hapo kwa ajili ya kumpokea ili aweze kujumuika au kuungana na wenzake na marais wenzake katika kuhudhuria mkutano wa Non-Aligned Movement, mkutano wa wakuu wa nchi zisizofungamana na upande wowote. Na wakati ambapo tunamsubiria Rais Mnangagwa kufika au kuwasili nchini, naomba nikupeleke katika taarifa ya habari. Katika taarifa ya kwanza kwa siku ya leo ni kwamba Waziri Mkuu wa Tanzania Kassim Majaliwa ameshawasili nchini kumwakilisha Rais Samia Suluhu katika mkutano wa wakuu wa nchi zisizofungamana na upande wowote NAM, ambao unaendelea katika Speak Resort Munyonyo. Kassim Majaliwa aliwasili katika uwanja wa ndege wa Entebbe saa 7 kasoro robo akiwa ameambatana na maafisa wa serikali ya Tanzania. Na kitaaluma ni kwamba Kassim Majaliwa ni mwalimu aliyepata elimu yake ya ualimu katika chuo cha ualimu cha Mtwara. Naomba nikatishe taarifa hii ya habari kwa kuwa kama ninavyoona kwenye runinga ni kwamba ndege ya Rais Mnangagwa imeshawasili katika uwanja wa ndege wa Entebbe, na wakati wowote atakuwa akipokelewa. Mkumbuke kwamba kabla ya hapo mchana tumeweza kuwapokea viongozi wengine, marais wengine mchana leo, na miongoni mwa rais ambaye alipokelewa ni rais wa Afrika Kusini mchana, na ambapo pia Uganda iliweza kumpokea makamu wa rais wa Cuba ambaye ni Salva Valdez Mesa. Kwa sasa macho yote yapo katika mapokezi ya Rais Mnangagwa kutoka Zimbabwe. Kumbuka kwamba mkutano wa Non-Aligned Movement bado unaendelea na Uganda inaendelea kuwapokea marais mbalimbali. Jana tulimpokea rais wa Somalia, pia tukampokea rais wa Djibouti, na sasa hivi Rais Mnangagwa amewasili katika uwanja wa ndege na anasalimiana na maafisa mbalimbali wa serikalini waliokuja kumpokea akiwa ameambatana na ujumbe wake kutoka Zimbabwe. Yupo nchini kwa ajili ya kuhudhuria mkutano wa NAM wa wakuu wa nchi zisizofungamana na upande wowote. Zimbabwe kama mnavyojua ni moja ya nchi zinazopatikana Afrika Kusini, na awali Zimbabwe ilikuwa ikijulikana kama Rhodesia, na kabla ya kupata uhuru wake, ambapo rais wake wa kwanza alikuwa ni Robert Mugabe ambaye alishafariki miaka ya nyuma kidogo. Na baada ya hapo akaja kuchaguliwa Rais Mnangagwa ambaye kwa sasa bado ni rais wa Zimbabwe, bado ni rais wa nchi hiyo. Hii ni UBC TV, na kama mnavyoona ni kwamba naona sasa hivi nirejee tena kwenye taarifa ya habari. Nitaendelea kukupasha kadri maraisi wanavyozidi kuwasili nchini kwa ajili ya kuhudhuria mkutano huo wa NAM. Na baada ya taarifa kuhusiana na Kassim Majaliwa, narudi tena uwanja wa Entebbe Airport, uwanja wa Entebbe. Naona bado kuna maafisa mbalimbali wa serikali ambao bado wanaendelea kufanya jukumu lao la mapokezi kwa Rais Mnangagwa. Naomba nirudie tena kwamba huyo ni nchi ya Zimbabwe, inapatikana kusini mwa Afrika, ni moja kati ya nchi za Afrika Kusini, na ambapo rais wake wa zamani alikuwa ni Robert Mugabe, ambaye alishafariki na alitawala nchi hiyo kwa miaka mingi tu hadi pale Mwenyezi Mungu alipoamua kumchukua. Hivi sasa naona Rais Mnangagwa bado yuko katika mapokezi, na nakukumbusha pia kwamba bado viongozi mbalimbali tunaendelea kuwatarajia kutua nchini. Na kulingana na taarifa nilizonazo ni kwamba viongozi zaidi ya 93 wanatarajiwa hapa nchini kutoka nchi mbalimbali kuja kuhudhuria mkutano wa wakuu wa nchi zisizofungamana na upande wowote, nchi hizo zikiwa ni nchi wanachama wa muungano huo wa NAM. Na huu ni mkutano wa mara ya 19. Kwa mujibu wa taarifa, mkutano wa NAM wa mara ya 18 ulifanyika jijini Baku nchini Azerbaijan Oktoba mwaka 2019. Rais Mnangagwa ndo anashuka kwenye ndege sasa, akiwa ameambatana na ujumbe wake. Akiwa ameambatana na ujumbe wake ndo amefika sasa hivi. Samahani, mwanzoni nilisema kwamba alikuwa amefika, lakini naona sikuona vizuri, lakini sasa ndo amefika na anasalimiana na wakuu mbalimbali wa serikalini waliofika uwanjani hapo kwa ajili ya kuhudhuria mkutano, na naambiwa kwamba amepokelewa na Waziri Benson na Waziri Amison Obua katika uwanja wa ndege wa Entebbe, na hivi sasa anaelekea katika chumba cha mapokezi au chumba cha VIP. Huo ndo mkutano wa NAM ambao umewaleta pamoja viongozi mbalimbali wa nchi wanachama wa muungano huo, na tunaendelea kuwapokea marais wengine tu mbalimbali. Sasa hivi naona Rais Mnangagwa na ujumbe wake wanaelekea katika chumba cha mapokezi na tayari kujitayarisha kwa ajili ya kuhudhuria mkutano huo ambao tayari ulishaanza wiki hii siku ya Jumatatu, na vile vile pale uwanjani kuna burudani kama mnavyoona, ngoma za kitamaduni huku zikiendelea kuwaburudisha wageni waliofika uwanjani hapo kwa ajili ya mkutano huo, na wale ambao wamefika uwanjani hapo kwa ajili ya kuwapa mapokezi mazuri tu. Na tunaendelea na taarifa ya habari, na katika habari ya kusikitisha ni kwamba mbunge wa jimbo la Dokolo Cecilia Ogwal amefariki kwa ugonjwa wa saratani, na kwa mujibu wa taarifa amefariki akiwa nchini India alikokwenda kwa ajili ya kupata matibabu.
This community. The Honorable Cecilia Ogwa, we started this parliament when we were 32 FDC MPs. The Honorable Atan was removed through a court process and by-election. Now the Honorable Cecilia Ogwa has died, so we remain 30 FDC MPs. The Honorable Cecilia Ogwa came to be known as Iron Lady. because she was very assertive and very forceful speaker, both in the parliament, in the seminars, on radio, on TV. And at the time, it was very difficult to identify yourself as an opposition politician. She's one of those who stood out, together with the Honorable Mara Tubos, the Ben Watchers, the late Dr. Kure Park. But she was also part of the Lango MPs in the 7th and 6th Parliament. I think the best MPs in this Parliament were from Lango, the Watchers, the Atubo, the Dr. Kure Park, and Cecilia Ogwal. And few as they were, they sounded like they were more than the NRM MPs were in Parliament. Because if you read the content, the Hansard of Parliament, you will discover that they occupied more space than the NRM who were the majority. So we will miss her as a politician, as a mother, but also as an encyclopedia, someone who has lived and has been part of Uganda's politics for a very long time.
Yes, thank you very much. This has been a very, very sad morning to us. First of all, as Parliament, because Honorable Cecilia has been real a pillar with a very loud voice, a research information that really it's a big blow, a big bang to us as Lango, and secondly, as Parliament of Uganda. She has really been a mother to the women, a mother to this nation, and somebody whom we all look upon in all areas. Whether there is any problem, whether there is conflict in Lango, really, she has been a guiding personality to most of us as women, as members of Parliament, and development-oriented. So as a people of Lango, we are really still shocked. We don't know what to say. We don't know why. In a series, just recently, we lost a member and a minister, and again, the ugly eyes of death has again picked our very best from the sub-region. And as Parliament, it's really sad.
This morning we learned of the unfortunate passing on of the Honorable Cecilia Atim Ogwal. She's been one of the longest serving members of Parliament. Right, by the way, from the Constituent Assembly. She is somebody who made her mark over time. She's been with us in the opposition. We've been learning a great deal from her. From the time we entered Parliament, she's been a motherly figure, you know. And many of us, especially the new entrants into Parliament, would connect with her every once in a while to learn from her, to get her opinion, her views on a couple of things. I approached her a few times, you know, in the past. I was looking forward to continuously engaging with her now as leader of the opposition, because some of these seniors, there's a lot that they know that they can share that would be of good guidance to us. So it is very sad. This is somebody who, over the years, would put government on the spot, you know. She would insist on government accounting to not just Parliament, but to the people of Uganda, as it should be, anyway. And so she got that coining of the name Iron Lady. So even as we mourn her, I think more important for me is we celebrate her dedicated service to this country, and we shall remember her for that.
As probably the leader of the opposition, did you ever notice that she was sick? Because for us who have been seeing her around, despite her old age, we never tell if she had any complications.
Yeah, the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal, of course, over time became a little bit frail, and she would often joke with us, the young ones, you know, and say, I used to walk very straight like you, now my back is bending a little bit, you know, and would joke about that. So she became a little bit frail, but even when she was frail, she would still come to the house, you know, and she had her particular regular seat where she would sit. So, yes, she was frail, especially because of that, but it was really not known to us, especially in the past 2-3 weeks to a month. Perhaps because we have been on recess. You know, when you're on recess, people are wherever it is that they are. So when the house is not sitting, sometimes it's difficult to tell who is around, who is not, and that kind of thing. So it didn't occur to us that she was actually bedridden in hospital somewhere because we have been on recess. But we understand, you know, she deteriorated a bit She was taken for treatment, and sadly she has not made it.
Mungu ailaze roho ya marehemu mahala pema peponi. Kufuatia kifo cha mbunge mwanamke wa Dokolo Cecilia Ogwal, wabunge na maafisa wa serikalini wameanza kufika nyumbani kwa marehemu kuomboleza kifo chake. Spika wa bunge la taifa Anita Among naye alifika nyumbani kwa marehemu kuomboleza kifo chake.
To officially announce to you the untimely and painful demise of Honorable Atim Ogwal Cecilia Barbara, the district woman member of parliament of Dokolo, which occurred this morning in India, where she had been evacuated for a specialized medical care. Honorable Ogwal was a devout Christian who always put God first. In whatever she did, she would always say, let's have prayers. And that was Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. She was a distinguished legislator with a very strong national look and a remarkable public figure. She was an inspiration to all of us, the young politicians. And she always advocated for a fair and just society that works for everybody. She always talked for humanity. She legislated for humanity. And she always talked about her country came first other than other political parties. Honorable Cecilia Ogwal had a long, distinguished public service career dating back from 1979, when she was involved in foreign service, and thereafter she served in various capacities in numerous public enterprises, notably the Advisory Board on Trade, Housing Finance Bank, and Uganda Development Bank. She was an accomplished accountant whose knowledge of finance grossly informed her legislative input in various laws and budgetary and appropriation process. That's why you find throughout her life she has been in the budget committee in Parliament to date. She became the Secretary General of the Uganda People's Congress in 1985. Her illustrious history and formidable legacy in the legislature dates back to 1994, when she was elected to the Constituency Assembly, where she played a pivotal role in shaping the 1995 National Constitution. Throughout her distinguished service to legislature, Honorable Tim Cecilia stood for constitutionalism, the rule of law, human rights, equity, and inclusivity. She was so passionate about women and her dignity to all Ugandans, irrespective of the tribe, religion, region, age, and gender. Honorable Cecilia Ogwal represented Lira municipality from 1996 to 2006, and later represented the Dokolo district from August 2006 till today when she passed on. The deceased also represented Uganda at the Pan-African Parliament in the 9th Parliament, that is 2011 to 2016. The Parliament of Uganda and the nation at large has lost a patriot. Honorable Gwang will be dearly missed by this Parliament of Uganda, and will be missed by the people of Uganda, and most especially people of Lango. We want personal condolence to the people of Lango and to all the women in Uganda whom she was proud of. As the head of legislature and the chairperson of the Parliamentary Commission, I, together with my family, want to pass on our condolence to all the members of Parliament, to the FDC fraternity, to all the people of Lango, to all the people of Uganda, for the loss of such a lady. Honorable Cecilia Ogwal would always tell you, never allow to be undermined because you're a woman. You should always be on top of everybody. Some of us were motivated to join politics because of Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. Everybody in that house was either a daughter, a son, a brother to Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. And she was a uniting factor in that house. She would unite opposition with the ruling government. When she sees the house is heated up, she would get up. When she speaks, everybody keeps quiet. That is the Cecilia Ogwal we have lost. She had where she would always sit. When she's not in the house, nobody would sit where Cecilia sits. That is out of respect that house had for Cecilia. As Parliament, I want to tell a country we have lost. We have lost a mentor. We have lost a lady who would serve everybody irrespective of your party. We'll ensure we repatriate the body back to Uganda, and we'll keep you posted of the next program. May her soul rest in perfect peace.
Mbali na kutoa ujumbe wa rambirambi kwa wananchi kwa ujumla kufuatia kifo cha mbunge Cecilia Ogwal, Spika wa bunge Anita Among alifika nyumbani kwa marehemu kwa ajili ya kuifariji familia ya marehemu.
I must state without contradiction that coming to Parliament, the Ninth Parliament, she needed us a lot. Herself and Letona Wachanyi were the few seniors who had time for the juniors. Many senior MPs never give time to others, but she was always available to help, support, to advise. She without timidity, she would advise you, speak to you, what she said. It means her kindness, her straightforward character, and her commitment, very committed. I see so many young MPs failing to attend Parliament, missing Parliament, failing to attend basically in Parliament. There are an old lady that you attend the Parliament very regularly. And read regularly, see her updated. So she gives a legacy of what regulating. But I don't want to do politics. in terms of serving country about?
Woke up to sad news of the passing of the Honorable Cecilia Imat Barbara Ogwal. To many of us, it came like a shock because Mama has really been moving. You know, she loved work. Mama has been working hard. We all refer to her as Mama, and the title suits her well. May Mama rest, because she played her part as a citizen of the country, as a mother, as a wife, but most importantly, as a leader. Many of us, while growing up, we looked on to Cecilia Ogwal as a role model. Growing up as a young girl, I would see Cecilia talk and you would say, yes, this is a woman. And I kept saying, I really want to be like this woman. I'm glad she played a part. She played a role in my life, coming up as a young leader. And when I came to Parliament, she was among the first people who gave me counsel. She told me how to handle myself around Parliament. She took me through balancing work and family. And when I was having my wedding in 2009, Mama was there to speak to me. She told me words of wisdom. She told me, Winnie, you should know that you are a leader. Your marriage is equally important. Leave your politics at the gate. Go and be a mother to your children and a wife to your husband. When you are going out to do politics, speak your politics at the gate. So basically, she wanted to tell me that as a leader, you need to learn how to balance between work and family, but at the same time, be consistent. She has been a resilient woman. You can't talk about good governance and democracy without talking about Cecilia. Every time Uganda was at crossroads in terms of shortages in human violations, shortages on human rights, Cecilia would speak loudly. Uganda was, until recently, when we went back to multi-party dispensation, but she did not relent on speaking and calling upon the powers that be to get us back on track and talk about democracy. She's among the few Ugandans who remained consistent and calling upon a return to multi-party dispensation. So if we can see ourselves into different political shades, Mama was part of it. When some of us were getting into the reform agenda, Mama was still in UPC, but because the UPC was no longer in existence, we would come here in her compound to discuss about now a new pressure group that was talking about a return to multi-party politics, a pressure group that was now reuniting all the other opposition people who were now in disarray. So she has been an icon of democracy. To us in the women's movement, Mama is a role model to many of us, the women, upcoming leaders, many women in leadership. Cecilia has held each one of us. In Parliament, every time we came at a standstill.
Mungu ailaze roho ya marehemu mahala pema peponi, na tutaendelea kukuarifu kuhusiana na mipango ya mazishi ya marehemu Cecilia Ogwal. Ila kwa sasa nami naomba niondoke, kwani tumefika mwisho wa taarifa hii ya habari kwa siku ya leo.
When it is KB o'clock, you need more from your voice bundles. That's why MTN is offering you more minutes across all networks that don't expire. Buy the new 90-minute Freedom Bundle at 5K or the 200-minute bundle at 10K and jazz with no limit. Katiteri ate, no excuses. Make the call now. Dial *100*21# or use the My MTN app and enjoy your Freedom Bundle today. MTN. Together we are unstoppable. Terms and conditions apply. MTN is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Start the new year in style with a variety of wine products from K Roma Uganda Limited. Bella Sweet Red Wine, Bella Pruko Wine, Bella Alta Wine, Bella Royal Dry Wine, Bella Passion Fruit Wine, Bella Hibiscus Juice, Bella Hibiscus Soft Drink, Bella Hibiscus Tea, among others. Available in all shops and supermarkets countrywide. K Roma Uganda Limited, the producers of Bella Wines, are located in Chirabulindo, Chira Municipality. For more information, call 0772 506 155 or 0704 161 398. Bella Wines, savor the test.
Ricky Rapper co-founded SafeBorder to make day-to-day commuting safer for everyone. He and his team have added a professional touch to an informal sector with the help of technology. From humble beginnings to the Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 list, Ricky brings a unique perspective to the boda business since he too started out as a rider. With SafeBorder scaling its operations, we know that this is just the beginning. Ricky, keep moving. You are unstoppable. MTN, the Unstoppable Network, celebrates you. Download the SafeBorder app and together, let's support Ugandans like Ricky who are driving our country's unstoppable progress.
Chimanyiddwa buli 14 February omwaka gwonna ebeera Valentine eyalunigidde kuba ndala nnyo. Tugenda kubeera mu Love Legends Valentine ne Victor Rose ku Kingdom Kampala ng'abanaakeerako okusasula bajja kusasula omutwalo gumu ate abalala emitwalo 2 VIP emitwalo 5 abanaakeerako okusasula emmeeza bajja kusasula kakadde ate wali ku mulyango $2,000,000 mujje twekuba ma love ku Kingdom Kampala ku Valentine's Day ne Victor Rose
nebiwagirwa Star TV
UBC inspiring Uganda.
Butukabutuka tewakyali kubutukabutuka na kusiibwa kijjudde ebirungo by'obutonde okunyiriza ensusu zaffe.
Movit okwekakasa kw'olunaku lwonna.
Get value for your money by choosing the right paint. With Global Paints, you don't just paint, but paint for generations to come. Make Global Paints a paint of choice and make your building a paradise. We have weather coat emulsion, undercoat emulsion, silk vinyl emulsion, flat emulsion, super gloss and high gloss. Global Paint, a reliable product.
Summit.
Prosperous world. One of the key priorities in SDGs by 2030. The implementation is lagging, as we all know, partly on account of the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact. It is therefore imperative that the concerted efforts are made to scale up mobilization of resources in terms of financial, capacity building, and technology required to deliver the agenda and the SDGs, which mainly aim at eradicating poverty, addressing climate change, and indeed leaving no one behind. The need to create opportunities for young people and harness their potential as well as achieving gender equality, among others, is more important than ever. I wish to underscore that climate change and sustainable development are two sides of the same coin. As you are aware, the G77 has been at the forefront of calling for the successful implementation of the Paris Agreement on climate change and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We must remain persistent in insisting that the international community lives up to its commitments while respecting the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities. As the G77 and China, we must continue to promote and reaffirm the need to respect national...
Third summit.
Prosperous world. One of the key priorities of our countries is acceleration of the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development with its 17
right here on UBC TV, and as you know, the non-aligned movement summit has been taking place at Speak Resort Munyonyo, and anytime from now Uganda will be receiving the Turkey Vice President. I'm told Uganda has already received the Turkey Vice President. He's called Kevet Yilman. He's already in the country, and will be receiving more and more presidents from the member states, the NAM member states. Well, I sign off right now, and coming up next is news in Luganda, whereby Shaidat is ready, waiting to give you whatever information she has. Thank you for watching UBC TV.
Wetujide ku mpewo nga olukungaana olwa Intergovernmental Authority on Development IGAD mu bufunze erimu amawanga 8 nga President Museveni ye ssentebe lugenda mu maaso olunaku olwaleero ennaku z'omwezi 18 omwezi tuli mu Gwalubiribiri ate omwaka 2024. Nze Shaidat Nasaku tugatandise bwe tuti abakulembeze b'amawanga bongedde okutuuka mu ggwanga okujja okwetaba mu lukungaana lw'amawanga agali mu mukago ogwa Non-Aligned Movement. Bapulezidenti abatuuse kuliko owa Equatorial Guinea Obiang Mbasogo, owa South Africa Cyril Ramaphosa, omukulembeze w'eggwanga erya Kenya William Samoei Ruto, Ssaabaminister w'e Tanzania omumyuka wa pulezidenti e Namibia n'abalala. Bapulezidenti bonna awamu bali 8 be babadde bakatuuka kuno wetusakidde eggulire lino okwegatta ku basatu abasuzeewo nga bazze lunaku lwa ggulo. Abasasi baffe bali ku kisaawe ky'ennyonyi y'Entebbe katulabe bye balabye.
Okutegeeza nti amakanda atukyagasimbe wano ku kisaawe ky'ennyonyi Entebbe ekya VVIP terminal. Olunaku olwaleero embeera yabadde ya njawulo nnyo okwawukana kate ne bwe gwabadde olunaku olw'eggulo, kubanga olunaku olw'eggulo embeera teyabaddemu nnyo bbugumu wabula ng'olwaleero ate embeera ebadde ya dduka ono atabaddemu bannamawulire bokka wabula n'ab'ebyokwerinda, kubanga ziweredde essaawa nga 9 n'ekitundu ez'olunaku olwaleero abakulu abapresident b'amawanga agatali gamu babadde batuukira ddala mu bungi ate nga batuukira kumukumu wabula nga ate tubadde beeteefuteefu nga tulaba nga tukutuusaako enteekateeka zonna nga bwe zitambula. Mpozi okusigira ekifaananyi ky'olunaku olwaleero ba president abasoba mu 5 basobodde okuba nga batuuka olunaku olwaleero mu ggwanga Uganda okwegatta ku ba president abasatu abaatuuse olunaku olw'eggulo okwabadde president wa South Sudan omukulu Salva Kiir. Olunaku olwaleero ba president abatuuse kubaddeko wa Equatorial Guinea era ng'ono awerekeddwako ba delegate abali eyo mu 40 nga bonna bazze okwetaba mu nkiiko ezigenda maaso mu ggwanga Uganda okuli olwa Non-Allied Movement n'olwa G77. Si yekka atuuse olwaleero ne president w'eggwanga erya Kenya Dr. Samoei William Ruto naye y'omu ku batuuse olunaku olwaleero naye nga bonna bazze okwetaba mu nkiiko zino ezigenda maaso mu ggwanga Uganda. Nga UBC njagala okutegeeza nti twasalawo okuweereza era tugenda kuba tukutuusaako enteekateeka zonna nga bwe zitambula wano mu ggwanga Uganda okusinziira ku mbeera nga bwetambula ku kisaawe ky'ennyonyi wano eky'Entebbe ekya VVIP terminal. Jjukira waliwo n'abagenyi abatali bamu abayita eri ku terminal endala ku VIP section nga muganda wange Waddulo Mark Arnold gy'asinzira okubanga ate naye akuweereza ebifa erudda eyo, ate ng'oyina n'okujjukira nti n'enkiiko ezigenda mu maaso zikuŋŋaanira wali mu bitundu eby'emunyonyo era nga bingi bigenda mu maaso n'okuba nga ate biteesebwako nga bikkaanyizibwako. Njagala okujjukiza nti ebigenda mu maaso mu ggwanga mu kiseera kino nga ggwanga Uganda tujja kuba tufunamu nnyo oba oliawo singa tuba tutuuse ku nzikiriziganya n'amawanga agasinga obungi ate nga kye tusinga okwagala kwe kunyweza enkolagana wakati w'amawanga gonna agasoba mu 120 agazze okuba nga ate geetaba mu nkiiko zino. We twogerera wenkoledde eggulire lino nga njagala okutegeeza nti ekyaliyo abapresident n'abagenyi abalala be tusuubira okuba nga ate batuuka olunaku olwaleero wabula tujja kuba tubakutuusaako bw'oba n'abatuuse ky'olina okukola kwekuumira ku UBC TV ne Star TV n'emikutu emirala gyonna okuli ne radio. Nze Jethro Kasaiji tukyagenda maaso n'amawulire gaffe.
Ye Jethro Kasaiji ali ku kisaawe ky'ennyonyi y'Entebbe yatutuusaako biki ebigenda mu maaso. Bw'otoyongerayo abadde omubaka omukyala owa disitulikiti ey'Eddikolo Cecilia Ogwal afudde. Cecilia Ogwal afiiridde mu ggwanga erya Buyindi gye yali yatwalibwa okujjanjabibwa obulwadde obwa kkookolo. Ono amaze mu paalamenti emyaka egikunukkiriza mu 30 era ng'ataddeko ettofaali ly'amaanyi mu by'obufuzi naddala mu kitundu eky'obukiikakkono bw'eggwanga. Amawulire g'okufa kwa Ogwal gatandise okusaasaanira eggwanga ng'obudde bukya era oluvannyuma ne gakakasibwa waafiiridde ng'aweza egy'obukulu 77. Gende. kakati David Chandi Jamwa eyaliko senkulu w'ekitongole ky'ekittavu eky'abakozi ekya NSSF ateereddwa okuva mu kaduukulu oluvannyuma lw'okusonyiyibwa omukulembeze w'eggwanga. Jamwa abadde ku kibonerezo eky'emyaka 12 mu kkomera oluvannyuma lw'okusingisibwa omusango gw'okufiiriza ekitongole kya NSSF. Obulindo bw'ensimbi Jamwa yeebazizza omukulembeze w'eggwanga olw'okumulowoozaako.
Omukulembeze w'eggwanga ng'ayita mu buyinza obumuweebwa ssemateeka yasonyiye abantu 13 ababadde mu kkomera nga bavunaanibwa emisango egy'enjawulo. Abasonyiyiddwa babadde n'emisango okuli okufiiriza ekitongole obulindo bw'ensimbi, okutta mu butali bugenderevu so n'okukabasanya abaana. Ekiwandiiko ekiva ewa pulezidenti kyoleka nti bano basonyiyiddwa olw'ensonga z'ebyobulamu, okweyisa obulungi ebbanga lye bamaze mu kkomera n'ebirala.
Era abayitira mitendera gye tuyitiramu kubanga tuyimbula abasibe abadde bakola obusibe bwabwe. Bwe bwaba agenda waliwo kye tuyita road pass gy'agenda nayo okukakasa nti tayadduse mu kkomera ayimbuddwa mu mateeka.
Omu ku basonyiyiddwa yaliko ssenkulu w'ekitongole ky'ekittavu ky'abakozi ekya NSSF.
Family yonna bweri ne budoogo bonna bwazze era sanyuka kyendaba.
Tezira Jamwa eyaliko omubaka mu palamenti ey'omukaaga ye nnyina wa David Chandi Jamwa.
Gikomerezaawo mu maaso kaawo kakati Intergovernmental Authority on Development IGAD mu bufunze erimu amawanga 8 nga President Museveni ye ssentebe waabwe. Batudde olunaku olwaleero bakutumbula ebyokukolera awamu okusitula embeera z'abantu baabwe era ng'olukuŋŋaana luno lutudde mu maka g'obwa President Entebbe. Ekitebe kya IGAD kiri Djibouti. Omukulembeze wa Djibouti Ismail Omar yatuuse dda mu ggwanga olunaku olw'eggulo. Owa Kenya naye waali William Ruto ate nga n'owa Somalia Hassan Sheikh Mohamud naye waali. Owa South Sudan Salva Kiir naye yatuuse dda.
But even when he was there, he has still endeavored to